Do you know why scammers use the Nigerian prince scam? Even though, for years and years, if you just Googled it, you would easily find out about the scams. It's because scammers want to avoid people who would not fall for an obvious scam. So they have people self-select for gullibility. By clicking this video, I have not tricked you, but you have self-selected as a certain type of person. Precons are great for a completely new player. Someone who might not have any friends that play Magic, maybe they're just hearing about Magic for the first time at the game store. They probably don't own any cards, but want to play the game that day. So precons offer a way for a new person to walk in the store, learn about the game, and begin playing at the store casually right then and there. But by clicking on this video, you have self-selected as someone who isn't that. Even if you are new to the game, you are somebody who watches videos about Magic, or looks it up, or researches about the game. And if you're one of my regular viewers, then you're also most certainly not a brand new player who's never heard of the game. Which means, for you, I think there are much, much better options than precons. Precons have two big issues. First is the price. The Final Fantasy precons are not worth buying. $80 or more for these decks sucks. It's way too much for a new player, and the cards are just getting scalped. The prices are up because we are paying the licensing fee for the Final Fantasy name. And I know people will try to line up the price of each individual card in the precon and add them up to try and justify its value. But I don't really agree with that method. It only works if you actually wanted all of those cards. If there's a $10 card in the precon that you're not going to use, then it isn't adding value to you. And you as an individual will have difficulty selling it at full market price. So even if you sell the card, you're not getting the $10 from it. So if it gets cut from the deck or you don't use it, you're losing out on value. You're not getting that full totaled up value. More about scalping in a later video. And even with regular precons at the air quotes normal price, many get scalped. It's not just the Final Fantasy ones that are being jacked up in price. If we look at the Tarkir ones, you can see some of the more popular ones are going for a higher amount. If you buy an old precon, you might be able to find one for cheaper, maybe in the $30 range, but is that the deck you want? Usually the least popular ones are the cheap ones, and those are not popular for a reason. Either the reprints were worse, the commander isn't as good, or the theme is just not popular among players. So to get the precon you actually want, even if it's an old one, the price might still be inflated. The other problem precons have is with their construction. In terms of gameplay, many precons can struggle. Part of it is their design. The backup commander is usually more of an alternative way to build the deck. Like Rendmaw in the Duskmourn precon, there's only 16 cards that actually trigger Rendmaw, so it's unrealistic for you to put Rendmaw in the command zone, and when you actually draw the card, Rendmaw doesn't do a whole lot. It creates these clunky draws where you sort of get the wrong half of your deck. Now, sub-themes inherently are not bad for a commander deck, but in precons, the sub-themes often can take away from the main theme or just don't really work very well at all. My buddy 33elk made a whole video about precons. It's pretty interesting. I'll throw a link in the description for you to check out. And I want to stress this isn't a strict power level thing. If you want to play a bracket 2 lower powered deck, that's fine, even if you have a silly sub-theme. You don't need to add Toxic Deluge and Necropotence in every deck. But if your deck is slow and clunky, even against other bracket 2 decks, you will have less fun games. Games where your mana didn't work out, games where you couldn't draw enough cards, or games where your deck just didn't function. You couldn't do your thing. I find that happens a lot to new players playing precons. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a new player play their precon and just not have fun because the deck is so slow and draws the wrong half of the deck, or the mana didn't work out and they only have one of their 3 colors. It's really sad to see a new player get frustrated because the sub-theme of their deck is taking away from their game plan, and they just don't get to play as many cards and do as much Magic as the rest of the table. I think a new player falling behind and having bad games is more likely to lead them towards not sticking with the game. I do know that, of course, you can upgrade your precon. There are tons of precon upgrade guides out there. You can trim away the fat, streamline the deck, but that also means more money being invested. If you bought the precon you wanted, which is a popular one, and it was scalped, and then spend $20 more upgrading it to cut out a jank sub theme and bolster the actual deck's theme, that's a lot for a player to invest, new or old. Plus, it's a bit of a knowledge check for new players. It can be difficult to find the correct cards to cut and replace for a precon, so if you don't find a guide for it, it might be a little tricky. It would be better if there was an option that played better out the box so you didn't need to make changes to it. Some precons are better than others. The Esper Knights one has a very powerful commander and is able to work pretty well outside of the box. Although any good precon is getting sold at a much higher price, and we go back to the original issue of $80 for a precon is pretty steep. Personally, I've only ever bought one precon, the Azuri one from way back when. And this is why when players ask me what precon to buy, I recommend none, because I think there are a few better options. But first, if you like my content and want to support me, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's the easiest way to support the channel. Or if you want to join the Discord and check out the other perks, peep the Patreon. So what is a better option? Well, if you're the person who watches videos about MTG on YouTube, which you are since you're here, just go to the search bar and type in budget EDH deck. But wait, before you click off this video, let me be a bit more specific and give you a few other options to help out. Lots of YouTube channels focus on budget deck building. The Professor also makes his own precons and has a playlist of all of those. I'm currently working on a budget precon level deck right now. I'll put a link to it in the description for you to check out. It's still a work in progress. I'll make a longer video about that later. But my deck list is a great starting point. It's about $30 and will function way better than most precons. Not just in terms of raw power, I do think it's a little stronger than the average precon, but it's also designed in a way such that you'll always have something to do. There's a lot of ramp and card draw, so you take a lot of game actions, leading to more fun on average. Another awesome place to go for budget decks is the subreddit r/budget brews. This subreddit slaps. It's full of people challenging themselves to make cheap decks that work well. I love directing new players there to help find great decks. Additionally, there are tons of deck building templates online. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of deck building templates for EDH, but it's not the worst thing in the world for a new player. You can easily find a template and make a deck using any commander you want. But utilizing a template and filling it out can be tricky, especially if you're a new player. So we can go even simpler. Using the website EDH Rec, which stands for EDH Recommendations, we can find some great budget lists. This website aggregates data from many deck building websites and shows you cards that are popular for that commander. There are a dozen things wrong with their data and how people use the site and blah blah blah. Every YouTuber, video essay nerd has made a video about it at this point. But if you're a new player and want to build a deck around one of these Final Fantasy commanders, without buying an overpriced precon, you can go to EDH Rec, sort for no game changers, making it likely bracket 2 or precon level, filter for cheap decks, and then this makes filling out a template a lot easier. You can find removal, card draw, whatever from this list. And if you really don't want to fill out a template, once you have these filters on EDH Rec, you can just click on decks and pull up a deck list that's completed. This is especially good for popular commanders. Right now, the Final Fantasy commanders are still new, so there aren't too many decks for them, but if you want to build a popular commander, it's really easy to do this. That Esper Knight precon, which is way overpriced, is a very popular commander, but Sidar himself is only $1. So when I filter for cheap bracket 2 decks on EDH Rec, I now have over 800 options to look at, and I'm willing to bet some of these are cheaper than the average precon and will function way better. I also want to give a shout out to CEDH here. Competitive EDH might seem like a weird suggestion for a new player, but there are a tremendous amount of upsides. CEDH is proxy friendly, so you can build any deck for pretty cheap. You don't need to do any deck building or brewing. Like other competitive formats, you play a meta tournament winning list, of which there are many to choose from. You just need to learn your deck and some of the matchups against the most popular other decks. That might sound like a daunting task, but there are tons of guides and primers online for CEDH decks specifically. Additionally, if you're moving from 160 card format to Commander, this allows you to skip worrying about power levels, rule zero, or other aspects of casual EDH that might add additional confusion. CEDH might not be the best place for a brand new player, but if you're moving from one format to EDH, it's really good as a starting place. And there are multiple public discords that are really great and tons of resources. CEDH players are really nice and genuinely want more people to play it, so you'll have a lot of help. One of the best parts of Magic the Gathering as a whole is the community. There are tons of players who want to share their knowledge with other people, whether it's a YouTuber like me or a person who made a cool budget deck and wanted to post it on Reddit. There's a lot to learn about Magic, and it's really difficult if you're going into it completely blind. But there's nothing wrong with leaning on other players and learning from them. Precons are just so expensive these days, and I really do think that if you're somebody who's willing to go online, watch a video or two, look up something, you're going to spend less money and build a better deck if you use one of the methods I suggested. But let me know what you think. Do you buy precons? Are you a new player? Are you an in-franchise player who also buys precons? I'm really curious what you think in the comments below. Thank you so very much for watching, and special thanks to my tier 3 patrons whose names you see here.